I'm telling you one thing, this is a miracle grow. It makes my hair grow. I took a dose of it 3 hours ago, and look at my head now. I don't know what, but you take 3 doses of this, and I'll look like a hippie.
This is Lane McClenahan. I had the opportunity of playing for EL growing up and also being such good friends with Kyler. I was fortunate enough oftentimes to get a double dose of EL. I feel like there's so many things, so many stories that I could tell. How excited he was when Kyler hit the half-court buzzer beater at Velma, or so many stories that I have with him of being on the sidelines when he was keeping stats for the football games. The one story that I do remember the best is we were in first grade, and it was the first day of practice, and he watched us shoot around for about 3 minutes, for about as long as he could stand it. And I remember he hollered at us, and we shaped right up and ran over there, and he said, "Boys, you see that white square up there on that glass?" He said, "Put the ball on the corner of that square." And we shot the ball a little better after he told us that, but there's not a gym that I don't walk into and I see the backboard and I don't think of him saying that. And I just want to say thank you to Kyler and Blake and Barbara and the rest of the family for letting me be involved and always treating me like one of your own. And I love you guys a whole bunch.
I can't make my hair quit growing. It grows faster than I can get it cut. Every day I have to cut it.
This is Rod Elliott, and I had the pleasure of E.L. Loving being my uncle. Because of the way my birthday fell, I had to play on a different baseball team every summer. This particular year, I was playing for Chicken Lynch, so I was around 12 years old. I get a phone call sometime during the day from E.L. But he said, "Rod, this is Chicken, and I'm going to want you to pitch tonight, so I need you to be at the field 30 minutes before everyone else so we can get you warmed up." So that I did. And would you believe Chicken didn't know a thing about it? Talk about a confused 12-year-old, and probably a more confused Chicken trying to convince me he didn't call. E.L. might have been the best prankster I've ever known, and I'm going to miss him.
The chemo therapy I'm taking makes my hair grow, Roy. You should have took what I took.
Hello, my name is Claudia LaBeth, and I've been at Wilson Schools for a little over 30 years. I had the opportunity to coach both EL's daughters in softball, Coach Diana and Janet in softball. And one thing, of course, EL was always there. And one thing that I do remember and appreciate is he might not have always agreed with everything I did, but I knew that he was always there to support me, and he would back me up. And I always appreciated that for him, even though he might not agree with everything I did. I knew he was going to be there to support me. Always at all the ball games, my kids were in athletics, and if I was there, at an athletic contest, I always saw EL there, whether it was, keeping stats on the sidelines or running the clocks or anything. If you needed something done, you always knew you could call EL, and he'd be willing to do that. He also made the trophies and stuff for us at school a lot. And I remember when I was teaching, I'd be doing the science fair, and I'd have to call EL. I forgot. I got to have trophies tomorrow for science fair. And he would always come up with me something that looked good and represented our school well. So I appreciated that for him also. On a personal note, as far as trophies and stuff go, any of our trophies, I think that have our names on it, our last name's LaBeth, and it's spelled with a little B. I think all the kids' trophies have a capital B, and it was always a joke at our house. We always knew if EL did the trophies because it had a capital B in it. But I will miss him being around school very much and appreciated everything that he did and all the support he always gave us at school. Thank you.
Hey, I'm happy my hair come back in. The chemotherapy I'm taking makes my hair grow.
Okay, first of all, there's no way you can talk about EL in just a couple minutes, but I'll do my best. The first week that I showed up out there at Wilson, here comes a guy driving up, and his truck jumps out and begins to tell me about the community, the town, what he's coached and what he's done, and I knew he was involved in the community a whole bunch with just the things that he was talking about, but basically he was wanting to check me out. He was wanting to know what I was going to do football-wise and this and that, and basically I kind of told him what my plans were. Well, about 2 weeks later, he comes back and he said, I'll tell you what, he said, I think I'm going to give you 3 to 4 years. He said, we hadn't had a real good track record on keeping coaches around here, but he said, I think you're going to try to do the right thing. And he said, you get through 4 good years, and he said, you just never know. So after that, I didn't think anything about it. And he comes back a little bit later and says, oh, yeah, you might make it an extra year because he said, I noticed some of the things you do. He said, I really like. And I'm thinking, well, what's going on with this? But anyway, to make a long story short, we're headed to Empire. This was kind of toward the end of the whole reign, and realized that, this is probably about it for me. And look around, I've got Nubbin McClanahan, EL, on the bus with me, and get off the bus, and we're fighting our way through this thing, and he's telling me all the stats and this and that, and we're kind of getting ready. Halftime, and it's 6-0. Empire was up on us. It wasn't a big deal. Nubbin held him real well, and I couldn't move the ball, and it was one of them deals. And he was saying, hey, he was in my ear the whole time. He was just chirping. I mean, blah, 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 throw the ball. Well, we'd throw the ball and they'd drop the ball. Run the sweep. We'd run the sweep, and a corner would come up and smash us right in the mouth. And he's frustrated. Nubbin's frustrated. And halftime, we go in, and I make some adjustments. I seen some adjustments. I wasn't panicking. Them two, though, they were just beside themselves. So we go out second half, and I look up, and I told Coach McClanahan, I'm gonna go over here and get something at the concession stand. Have EL call the first series or two of offense. Well, again, EL's mad. He takes his stat book and goes down the end by the goalpost, and I look up, and Nubbin's down the opposite end where I'm at. So I knew things wasn't going very well. But anyway, we end up winning the ball game. It was a close ball game. We ended up winning the thing, and everybody excited. And of course, the first two that congratulated me, Nubbin and EL. he had so much invested in the kids and the community stuff. He kind of forgot all that stuff. But the biggest thing out of this whole situation was after the game, we're packing up and everything, and we're just over there kind of talking. He just said, listen, he said, and you guys know as well as I do, he wasn't serious very often, but he said, listen, you are a part of this community. Of course, that's 15, 16 years later. And that really made me feel good. And we talked a long time about the things that had went on there and all the stuff that was in between. But the funny thing and the thing about the whole thing about that is just 2 or 3 weeks ago, we were out practice at Ardmore, and I've got the kids going a little bit. And I look back, and he said, you're always going to be an Eagle. And I said, well, I hope so. I said, I've done my time and all that. So we're getting ready to spell out Eagles here at Ardmore. And I just kind of stopped. I said, what did I just get through saying? I said, let's spell out Eagles. And the kids at Ardmore going, what's the deal with Eagles? And I thought back to EL. And at that point, I laughed for about a minute about spelling out Eagles at Ardmore. So we're going to really miss him. Like I said, there's not enough time to tell all the stories I had, but the time that I spent with him, especially the last few years out there, was just so enjoyable. We're going to miss him. We love him. God bless the family.
If I could find the right eye doctor, I'd go to get my new glasses. But there ain't nobody in Oklahoma that can fit me.
Hello, this is Coach Talley, and I am honored to be asked to speak of EL today. EL was a true Eagle for life. He was so proud of the town of Wilson, the school, and athletics. He would always donate his time to help, whether it be marking the fields, cleaning the gym, picking up trash, you name it, he did it. He never asked for help either, because he said none of us coaches knew what we were doing and we couldn't do it as good as him. He was right. We probably would have messed it up. EL was such a family man. He was always bragging about his kids' success during their time of high school, but he also bragged even more of the accomplishments of his grandchildren. EL was all about helping kids. He donated his time to help coach and teach them in sports. He donated money for equipment. He would even donate his trophies, which are still to this day some of the best that I have seen. Loving family, I'm so sorry for your loss. I know your family in Wilson will miss him deeply. I know I will. To EL, thank you for all you did for me while I was there in Wilson. May you rest in peace.
When I first moved back to Wilson in 1989, I didn't have a barber. And I was looking for a barber and didn't know anybody, didn't know where to go. And my mom suggested that I call EL. When I was a little boy, 5 or 6 years old, living in Hilton, EL was a barber in Hilton and cut my hair. So for 2 years, after I moved back to Wilson, EL would cut my hair there in the garage at the house. And he finally suggested that I go to the Mitchell Brothers in Ardmore to get my hair cut. For years, EL has done the stats for Wilson football, and Wilson football coaches greatly appreciate all that EL has done, keeping those stats, because if you don't, after a football game, you have to come in and break film down to get yardages and tackles and those kind of things, and EL always had it. He'd have it ready on Saturday morning for coaches going to the coaches show, and he'd put it in the mailbox. One Saturday morning, I go bounding up on his porch to get the stats, and I've tripped over his water hose coming off the porch and fell in the grass and was rolling around. Well, E.L. come up and he kind of knocked a little grass off of me. Said, "Yeah, you look fine." So off we went. I get over to the coach's show and everybody was wondering if I had cut the football field that morning because I had grass all over me. E.L. had knocked it all off.
I was fortunate that I grew up in Wilson, and I got to have two moms and two dads. Barb and E.L. were like my second mom and dad. I was always with them, always going in and out of their house. But one story in particular, I was at a basketball game with E.L. at Waurika, and I was probably 7 or 8 years old, and we were sitting there in the stands, and I was fidgeting my legs around, and I had accidentally bumped this gentleman there in front of me a few times with my feet. And he got tired of it, and he turned around and stuck his finger in my face, and he said, if you kick me again, I'm just going to slap the hell out of you. And I got a little nervous, and the guy turned around, and I looked over at E.L., and E.L. said, "Kick hell out of him." I said, "What?" He said, "You heard me, kick him." And so I hauled off with my pointy-toe cowboy boots, and I kicked him right square in the kidneys. And he turned around and mad as he could be, and looked at me, and E.L. said, "If you touch him, I'll kill you."
My favorite E.L. Loving story came after we had won our first district title while I was coaching at Wilson, and we had beaten Walters at Walters. And when we got back home to Wilson, the bus took us to Main Street, where we found many members of the community in the middle of the town celebrating. And so, of course, we stopped the bus and we got out as a team and we celebrated with them. And someone had music on, and so we were not just hugging and congratulating one another and celebrating, but we were also dancing. And I look over to the side, and there is Roy and E.L. dancing. And I don't know if anybody had ever seen Roy and E.L. dance, but it was quite comical. And it made me laugh extremely hard. I'll never get that image out of my mind. When we lined up, we always took pictures, and we took group photos of the team and the community, and we lined up in front of the bus. Roy and E.L. got there and put their hands on their knees, and they were in the front just grinning as big as ever. And it, I look back at that picture, and that's the first thing that I see. I see E.L.'s grin. I see Roy right there next to him, and it just takes me back to that wonderful time. And I wish we could relive that moment. E.L. is someone that is dear to my heart, and so to Barbara and Diana and Janet and Preston, I think the greatest compliment I can give is that there was no doubt how much E.L. loved his family, and there was no doubt how much E.L. loved Wilson. And his giggle and his smile was contagious, and I think that's a testimony to how he lived his life, and probably the impact that he has had on people out in Wilson and outside of Wilson, and I'll take that with me forever. So I love you all as a family, and I love E.L. and miss him.
I know all the girls are chasing me, and I've been hiding. So y'all quit looking for me. I'll come out when the sun comes up.